basketball only on WOCA, The Source.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 23 minutes before 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this cold Friday morning. This is the segment of the morning show called News Bites. We take news from around the world and we shorten it. That gives you an opportunity to listen for just a short period of time and hear a load of stories. Usually between 20 and 25 stories are covered in the course of these 23 or so minutes. And we'll also tell you the resource that we use to get the story so that you can look online to find the story in complete form so that you can maybe know more about it if you need to. Sometimes just knowing the gist of the story is all we really need. And it's our way of putting news back into News Talk. We do get the stories from everywhere, the entire globe, sometimes even out in the universe somewhere. The first story comes right here from the state of Florida, and it's from the Associated Press. Florida Governor Rick Scott has signed a death warrant for the man convicted of kidnapping, raping, and murdering 9-year-old Jimmy Rice on his way home from school almost 20 years ago. 46-year-old Juan Carlos Chavez is now scheduled to die by injection on February 12th for the September 11th, 1995 slaying. The boy was abducted after being dropped off by a school bus near his home in South Miami, Dade County. Chavez took him back to his trailer where he raped him. He held Jimmy captive for 3 hours before he shot the boy as he tried to escape. The case horrified the state and led to the passage of the Jimmy Rice Act. It allows authorities to commit dangerous sexual predators to mental institutions once they have completed their prison terms. He is scheduled to die February 12th.
The Pennsylvania woman who called herself Jihad Jane and a teenage accomplice from Maryland provided very significant assistance to U.S. authorities in several terrorism investigations, but still remains a threat to the public, prosecutors say in new court filings. Prosecutors said Colleen LaRose, age 50, should be sentenced to decades behind bars for her role in a failed 2009 plot to kill Lars Vilks, a Swedish artist who offended many Muslims by drawing the Prophet Muhammad on the head of a dog. After years of delay, the American-born LaRose is expected to be sentenced on Monday in Philadelphia. A similar hearing for Mohammed Hassan Khalid, the youngest person ever charged with terrorism in the United States, is set for Tuesday, reported by Reuters.
And this next story is from the Associated Press. A massive pile of salt used to clear icy roads has fallen onto a worker at a suburban Philadelphia storage facility, crushing and killing him. Falls Township Police say the accident happened yesterday afternoon, hours before a massive snowstorm was set to arrive in the area. The 100-foot-tall pile of salt toppled over and trapped the man who was working a backhoe. Rescue crews were dispatched but could not save him. There's no word on what may have caused the accident.
Thousands of Nevada immigrants showed up at Department of Motor Vehicles offices yesterday to obtain driver authorization cards under a new law that made the state the 11th nationally to offer driving privileges to people in the country illegally. In Las Vegas, long lines began forming before the doors opened at 8 a.m. By noon, wait times at the city's two busiest offices were 2 hours or longer. But the mood was more jovial than other agonizingly long DMV waits, given the excitement on the part of immigrants who are now able legally to drive to work. Fausto Garcia, age 51, was among those at the DMV office in North Las Vegas. Garcia, who is from Mexico, said he wanted to get a card as soon as possible. He's been living in Las Vegas for 8 years and driving illegally to his job as a dishwasher. This is a quote. "It's necessary to drive, and I've always been careful," he said. Reported by the Las Vegas Sun.
And this one from the Associated Press. A blustery winter storm that dropped nearly 2 feet of snow just north of Boston temporarily shut down major highways in New York and Pennsylvania and forced U.S. airlines to cancel thousands of flights nationwide, menaced the Northeast today with howling winds and dangerously cold temperatures. The storm, which brought plummeting temperatures that reached 8 degrees below zero in Burlington, Vermont early this morning with a wind chill of 29 below zero, dumped 23 inches of snow in Boxford, Massachusetts by early this morning and 18 inches in parts of western New York near Rochester. 13 inches of snow fell in Boston, while Lakewood, New Jersey got 10 inches and New York City got up to 7. The snowfall, frigid temperatures, and stiff winds extended the holiday break for some students for a second day while posing the first test for New York City's new mayor and perhaps the last challenge for Boston's outgoing mayor. U.S. airlines canceled more than 2,300 flights yesterday because of the snowfall and low visibility. By this morning, about 1,600 flights were canceled nationwide, according to the aviation tracking website FlightAware.com.
Janet Yellen came a step closer to final approval as the Federal Reserve's next chair after the U.S. Senate set a Monday vote on President Barack Obama's choice to succeed Ben Bernanke. The Senate is expected to vote at around 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Monday on Yellen, according to a Senate Democratic leadership aide. Yellen, who would become the first woman to chair the U.S. Central Bank, would take the reins on February the 1st, one day after Bernanke ends a two-term stint during which he reached deep into the Fed's monetary toolbox to try to receive an economy hit by a massive financial crisis that sent it into the worst downturn in decades, reported by Reuters.
And Fox News is reporting this story. One of the country's largest producers of gun magazines is leaving the state of Colorado and moving operations to Wyoming and Texas because of new gun laws. Erie, Colorado-based Magpul Industries announced yesterday that it was moving its production, distribution, and shipping operations to Cheyenne and its headquarters to Texas, making good on a vow it made to leave Colorado during last year's heated gun control debate. The company says its corporate headquarters will likely be in north central Texas, but an exact location has not been determined yet. The Democratic-led Colorado legislature and Governor John Hickenlooper last year enacted a new law prohibiting the sale of gun magazines with more than 15 rounds. That and other new gun restrictions also led to the recall ouster of 2 Democratic state senators.
Demonstrators rallied outside of visiting U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry's hotel room in Jerusalem yesterday evening, calling for the release of an Israeli agent, Jonathan Pollard, who has been incarcerated in an American jail for the past 29 years. Protesters chanted slogans and held placards, some depicting former U.S. Secretaries of State. Kerry arrived to the region yesterday morning for his 10th round of shuttle diplomacy regarding the Israeli-Palestinian peace process that resumed in July. A recent debate has emerged over reports of the possibility of Pollard's release as part of a peace deal in return for the release of Israeli Arab security prisoners, reported by the Jerusalem Post.
And this story is from ABC News. The suspect in the murder of a popular California priest who was found dead in the church rectory was taken into custody this morning during a traffic stop. According to the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office, Gary Lee Bullock was a passenger in his stepfather's truck when deputies pulled the vehicle over for a traffic stop at 12:45 p.m. Pacific time. I guess that would have been yesterday and not this morning. I apologize. Steve Knight with Humboldt County Sheriff's Office told ABC News Bullock was taken into custody without incident and has since been turned over to authorities in Eureka, California. The arrest came hours after an arrest warrant was issued for Bullock in connection with the murder of Eric Freed, a popular priest who was found dead in the rectory at St. Bernard's Catholic Church on New Year's Day.
Patients who suffer from shingles are more likely to have a stroke or a heart attack in later life, according to new research. A study of almost 320,000 people has shown that the link appears to be especially pronounced in people who had shingles between the ages of 18 and 40 years old. Those who suffered from the viral infection under the age of 40 had a 74% greater chance of a stroke and 50% greater risk of heart attack. Shingles also increase the risk of transient ischemic attacks, sometimes called a mini stroke, by 2.4 times compared to those who had not had the infection, reported by the Telegraph.
And from the Associated Press, again, a U.S. Border Patrol agent was facing a pending murder charge yesterday in the shooting death of a Central Texas man who he believed was having an affair with his wife. Adam Garibay was arrested after sheriff's deputies say he led them on a high-speed chase. Investigators say it all began early yesterday when he allegedly bound his wife with duct tape and put her in handcuffs in their Corpus Christi home before forcing her to reveal the name of the man she was seeing. He was able to get from her by threat the address of the man, according to the Medina County Sheriff's Office. Garibay then drove about 160 miles northwest from Corpus Christi, which is along the southern Texas Gulf Coast, to a home near the town of Hondo, where he fatally shot 35-year-old Keith Martin. Martin's father and brother were at the home during the shooting, according to the report. Garibay fled the scene and led deputies on an 18-mile chase west to the town of Sabinal before the officers found him forced him off the road, rather. He said Garibay resisted arrest and was brought under control with a stun gun. Brown said deputies believed Garibay might have tried to overdose on medication.
A new federal report says Mississippi officials accepted unsupported population growth estimates in developing a plan to use $653 million in federal Hurricane Katrina recovery money for water and wastewater facilities, including some that may not be needed. The Department of Housing and Urban Development's Office of Inspector General also questioned appraisals used to buy private land in June of 2012. The Associated Press reported on concerns raised by residents and officials concerning the population estimates and the use of eminent domain to acquire private land for projects that may not be needed for years, if ever, reported by ABC.
And this story is from MSNBC. The Florida congressman charged with cocaine possession last year will be returning to work on Capitol Hill next week. Republican Representative Trey Radel will be back on the job for the first time since he was charged with possession of cocaine after purchasing the drug from an undercover officer on October 29th. I look forward to getting back to work next week representing my neighbors in Southwest Florida as they face the burdens of Obamacare, a jobless recovery, and a federal government that continues to spend more than it takes in, Radel said in a statement. Radel was sentenced to 1 year of probation after pleading guilty to the charge in November. He took a leave of absence and returned to Florida to enter into a rehab program. He left that program less than a month later and announced that he would not step down from his seat in the House of Representatives.
The editorial boards of the New York Times and the Guardian newspapers yesterday called for President Obama to treat former government contractor Edward Snowden as a whistleblower rather than a criminal for leaking information about the National Security Agency's sweeping surveillance programs. This is a quote from the New York Times editorial board. Considering the enormous value of the information he has revealed and the abuses he has exposed, Mr. Snowden deserves better than a life of permanent exile, fear, and flight. He may have committed a crime to do so, but he has done his country a great service. It is time for the United States to offer Mr. Snowden a plea bargain or some form of clemency that would allow him to return home, face at least substantially reduced punishment in light of his role as a whistleblower, and have the hope of a life advocating for greater privacy and far stronger oversight of the runaway intelligence community, reported by CBS.
And a programming note regarding the story Robin just read, the New York Times editorial that is being quoted there is something we will discuss at 10:35, and your calls are invited to express your thoughts on whether or not you agree with the New York Times editorial that says Edward Snowden should receive clemency. So if you want to tune in and participate, that's at 10:35 this morning. The next story is from the Associated Press. Call it a politician boldly going where no one has gone before. Yesterday, David Waddell used the Klingon language to write his letter of resignation from the Indian Trail Town Council in North Carolina. Waddell says he opted to use Klingon, the language of a warrior race on the Star Trek TV shows and movies, as an inside joke. Mayor Michael Alvarez is calling the letter unprofessional. Waddell says he is resigning at the end of this month. His 4-year term expires in December of 2015. Waddell says he also needs to devote time to mounting a write-in campaign on the Constitution Party's platform against U.S. Senator Kay Hagan.
Long queues have been seen as the world's first state-licensed marijuana industry opened for business in the U.S. state of Colorado. Hordes of customers brave bitter cold and snow at about 24 outlets across the mountainous state. Residents aged 21 and over can buy 1 ounce, while those from out of the state can purchase up to 0.25 ounces. Washington state has also legalized cannabis and is expected to allow the drug sale later this year. Colorado's system differs from the Netherlands in that the Dutch have never legalized cannabis, even though the purchase and consumption of small amounts of the drug have been informally permitted since 1976, reported by the BBC.
And the next story is from the Las Vegas Sun. Toronto Mayor Rob Ford has put his name on the ballot to run for another term, defying repeated calls for him to step down after he admitted to smoking crack in a drunken stupor. Ford was the first candidate to show up at City Hall when registration opened yesterday for the city's municipal election, October 27th. He promised Ford more years, according to the Toronto Star. He also called himself, quote, the best mayor this city has ever had, unquote. He went on to say, if you want to get personal, that's fine. He said that to reporters, according to the Star, continuing to say, I'm sticking to my record, and talk is cheap. You're going to see action like you've never seen before. And that again from the Las Vegas Sun.
Facebook is being sued over claims it sells users' private messages to advertisers without their consent. According to a complaint filed in California, the social network misleads users into believing they have a secure private mechanism for communication, which in fact Facebook mines user data and profits from those data by sharing items with third parties. The lawsuit, brought by Facebook users Matthew Campbell and Michael Hurley, who are seeking class action status, stems from claims in 2012 that the website scans private messages for information that is used to work out how many likes a page has. At the time, Facebook said no private information has been exposed, reported by The Telegraph.
And you might remember 52 passengers were rescued off of a stranded icebreaker near Antarctica. Now the ship that rescued them is in trouble. An Australian icebreaker carrying 52 passengers who were retrieved from an icebound ship in the Antarctic was told to halt its journey home this morning after concerns that a Chinese vessel involved in the dramatic rescue may also become stuck in the heavy sea ice. The icebreaker Aurora Borealis had been slowly cracking through thick ice toward open water after a Chinese helicopter yesterday plucked the passengers from their stranded Russian research ship and carried them to the Aurora. But this morning, or rather this afternoon, their time, this morning our time, the crew of a Chinese icebreaker that had provided the helicopter said they were worried about their own ship's ability to move through the ice. The Aurora, which was carrying the passengers to the Australian island of Tasmania, was told to stay in the area in case the Chinese icebreaker Snowdragon needs help, according to the Australian Maritime Safety Authority's Rescue Coordination Center, which oversaw the rescue. The Snowdragon, which is at the edge of the ice pack surrounding the Russian vessel, will attempt to push through the ice to open water early tomorrow when tidal conditions are most favorable. The Aurora is waiting around 7 miles north of the Snowdragon, according to a spokeswoman for the Marine Authority.
Applications for U.S. unemployment benefits declined last week to the lowest level in a month as the volatility typical during the year-end holidays waned. Jobless claims fell by 2,000 to 339,000 in the period ended December 28th. The median forecast of 26 economists surveyed by Bloomberg called for 344,000 claims. Firings will probably be limited this year as gains in business and consumer spending help the world's largest largest economies strengthen. Further healing in the labor market may depend on lawmakers' progress in budget negotiations this month, which would support confidence and a willingness to add to staff, reported by Bloomberg.
And from MSNBC, Walmart stores is recalling a card table and chair set after reports of injuries, including fingertip amputations. Walmart Stores Incorporated is recalling about 73,400 mainstays, 5-piece card table and chair sets because the chairs can unexpectedly collapse, posing a falling hazard and potential finger injury. The Consumer Product Safety Commission said yesterday that Walmart has received 10 reports of injuries, including 1 finger amputation, 3 fingertip amputations, sprained or fractured fingers, and 1 report of a sore back. The recall includes the mainstays card table sets with a black padded metal folding table and 4 black padded metal folding chairs made by Dongguan Shin Din Metal and Plastic Products Company. The company that made the chair cushions is printed on a white label on the bottom of the chairs. And that name, if you're looking for it, is Dongguan Shin Din Metal and Plastic Products Company. Wow. Sounds like a Chinese name to me.
The IDF has appointed its first female battalion commander, Major Oshret Bashar, who will head a combat intelligence unit in the Southern Command along the border with Egypt. Major Bashar will be promoted to the rank of lieutenant colonel and will take charge of a battalion named ITAM, tasked with monitoring hostile terrorist activity in the Sinai Peninsula. She began her military career as a lookout soldier in the Combat Intelligence Corps and went on to become a company commander in the field. From there, she became an instructor at the IDF's Combat Intelligence School before serving as a department head in the office of the advisor onto the Chief of Staff of Women's Affairs, reported by the Jerusalem Post.
And this story is from the Washington Times. 2 suicide bombings targeting Russian civilians just weeks from the opening of the Winter Olympics in Russia have renewed fears that a Chechen tourist known as the Russian bin Laden may be bent on committing or inspiring more attacks on so-called soft targets and possibly major international sporting events. Such concerns reared their head in April amid evidence that one of the 2 young Chechen immigrants who executed 2 deadly bombings at the Boston Marathon drew inspiration from Doku Umarov, the 49-year-old leader of the regional terrorist network known as the Caucasus Emirate, whose stated goal is to establish an Islamic State inside Russia. And again, that story from the Washington Times.
The United Nations today is calling on all parties in Lebanon to show restraint following the second deadly car bomb attack in less than a week in Beirut, and to support the army and security forces as they seek to prevent further acts of terrorism. Secretary General Ban Ki-moon is quoted as saying, "This act follows the terrible bombing on December 27th and further reflects a deeply worrying escalation in the violence witnessed in Lebanon in recent months." The Security Council issued a press statement reaffirming that terrorism in all its forms and manifestations constitutes one of the most serious threats to international peace and security, and that any acts of terrorism are criminal and unjustifiable, regardless of their motivation, wherever, whenever, and by whomever committed, reported by the UN News.
All right, that's all the time we have for News Bites. Remember, we do this each weekday morning from 8:35 or so until 9 o'clock. Gives us about 24 minutes to bring you the news in shortened form so that you can catch up on a bunch of stories without spending all day listening to the radio, watching TV, or reading the newspaper. We also do it so that we can say we have news back on News Talk. And remember, if you'd like to sponsor this or any program on WOCA, it's just a matter of figuring out how to do it. And we are the experts on that. Well, not Robin and I, but the other people here.
Yeah.
The sales executives. Come into the station right outside of the food court in the Paddock Mall. Visit one of our sales executives. I would recommend you wait until after the weekend because the holidays pretty much are still happening around here. Monday, that would be a good day. Come in, sit down across from one of our sales executives and find out how advertising on WOCA can increase your business as we begin the new business year here in 2014. Robin, how many stories did we cover today?
25.
25, not bad.
Yep.
All right, we'll push forward, take a little break, and be right back with Jim George. He's going to tell us all the fun stuff that's out there for our home entertainment enjoyment. We'll be right back.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
ABC News Now. I'm Karen Chase. The new year is off to a stormy start for more than a third of the nation being battered by winter weather. Chicago is digging out from under 2 feet of snow. New York, Boston, and Philadelphia are still seeing snow. More than 4,000 flights nationwide are canceled or delayed. Another storm system is coming this weekend. Maybe it's the warm weather. Florida is set to surpass New York as the nation's third most populous state after California and Texas, according to the latest census numbers, while more people are leaving snowy upstate New York than moving in. Investigators say it wasn't the vaccine that killed at least 9 and as many as 17 children in China shortly after they were inoculated for hepatitis B in a government program. However, 3 drug makers have suspended production after failing to meet manufacturing standards. Chrysler sales rose 6% last month in a sign that automakers closed 2013 with strong numbers. The Duck Dynasty crew is marketing a new line of Duck Commander guns, including rifles, shotguns, and a pistol in waterfowl camo, and sold with an American flag bandana. This is ABC News.
If you're a homeowner who's faithfully made your mortgage payments, you deserve thanks for doing the right thing. And I'd like to tell you about a powerful financial tool that rewards your commitment. Hi, I'm Jay Farner, president of Quicken Loans, and the tool that I'm talking about is the Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. HARP is designed to help you lower your mortgage payments. It's for homeowners who are current on their mortgage payments, but due to the housing market may have little or no equity left in their home. And even if you were unable to get a HARP loan in the past, new guidelines mean that now you may be eligible. More than 2.5 million homeowners have already taken advantage of HARP and are saving an average of $250 a month. If you're one of the millions yet to take advantage, call us today at 800-QUICKEN. To learn more, call Quicken Loans today at 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com. That number again is 800-QUICKEN.
Important terms and conditions apply. Call us for cost information. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 30.
Legally Yours, brought to you by Fuller & Fuller Attorneys at Law. On the air every Wednesday morning at 10:30 a.m. with John Fuller, a board-certified civil trial lawyer for over 25 years. John welcomes your questions, from business to complex family matters to legal disputes. So tune in every Wednesday morning at 10:30 a.m. for Legally Yours with John Fuller, right here on WOCA 1370 AM and 96.3 FM, The Source.
Gene Powell Pasture Mowing. Our tractor services include bush hog, disking, front-end loader, box blade, and stump grinding. We also have zero-turn mowers for the smaller paddocks, aisleways, fence rows, and lawn care. Fence row spraying is also available for weed control. We are licensed and insured. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing, 352-629-2440, or online at powellgene, Gene, at yahoo.com. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing.
Habitat for Humanity of Marion County is a ministry dedicated to improving lives by providing affordable and decent housing. Help them help others by visiting the Habitat for Humanity Ocala home store on Northwest 27th Avenue. To schedule a donation, give them a call and they'll come and pick it up. For more information, visit habitatocala.org. Habitat for Humanity of Marion County, building homes, building hope, building community.
Here's what you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
Employees who work at least 11 hours a day are nearly 3 times more likely to experience depression compared with people who work a regular 8-hour day. Our metabolic rate drops roughly 10% from early adulthood to late middle age. So a slice of cherry pie at age 40 will affect you a lot more than it did at 25. Do you know the first words you speak to somebody will set the tone for the entire interaction?
Intelligence for your life on the John Tesh Radio Show. Don't miss this stuff.